Okay, it is 6 o'clock. We're at the Greenfield Community Energy and Technology Board of Commissioners in conference room and hybrid 324 Main Street, 42 Greenfield. This meeting is being recorded by the Greenfield Community Energy and Technology. If any other persons present are doing so at the same time, we must notify the chairperson at this time. We'll do the call to order. Did you send out the minutes?
Yes.
Yeah, the minutes. Motion to accept the minutes of.
No, it's a mistake. She didn't start until this one. We asked her to start at the last meeting, but we didn't ask her until after.
Yeah. Okay.
So
we'll do this.
She and I will go back and we'll recreate those and we'll do those.
Gotcha.
Too, and then we'll get them both. Once they're accepted at the next meeting, we'll post them both.
Okay. Public comment? Seeing none. Old business, and we'll move on to start with Northville.
Okay. So, we are going to talk tonight about the 3 projects we're working on. I think most of you know, Pamela, you were there at the Ways and Means meeting. They did recommend to restore. I just
watched the whole thing.
Oh, you did? Oh, good. Okay.
Instant replay.
And the mayor did that. So appreciate that. That's and we have since sent both Northville invoices and Legacy Make Ready invoices that she has approved. So we're really now going back to focusing on 3 things: on the Northville, which is from ARPA that we received for grants. We'll talk about where we are with the GAP Networks grant project. And then we'll talk a little bit about the residential retrofit. That is taking up a lot of our time. That's 3 grants and a lot of reporting that we're juggling, and we're working our way through our sort of master Gantt charts and Trello things. So we're all organized because there are not a lot of us. We need to make sure we're on top of it. The first thing I would say is for the North build, the invitation for bids is with procurement. We actually had to work a little bit with the railroad because DOT came late in the process and said, well, everybody's got to move over. We're making a change. So it's not just us, it's Verizon and Comcast and Eversource have to change. Eversource is correct. We have to change over. And that meant that we had to go talk to the railroad and make sure our insurance was correct. There is a railroad liability insurance called RRP that we had to get, and we have, and we've done it through the railroad, and we worked with Phil Wortell, who is great, I may say, who's the procurement person for the city. He's terrific. He is, so he went back and forth with us, primarily with Fern, who is the one who is handling the day-to-days of the IFB and doing a great job. And it is now with him. All questions are answered. He is not going to be able to get it out until next week because he's just slammed with a bunch of stuff to do. So, but next week, the IFB will be out. The clock will start. Which means he has, in the process of putting the ads in the paper, all the things that he has to do, he's doing. And we will have that going.
I'm sorry, who is this we're talking about?
Phil Wortell is the procurement person for the city of Greenville.
Okay.
We do all of our procurement. Fern does a lot of the work, but anything that requires, when we trigger for 44 and other sections of the law, we have to go out to bid. There are certain very strict rules we've got to follow. Phil helps with all of that.
And he is an interim.
He is an interim. Yeah. I know. I don't know what the future holds. So
he only wants to be an interim.
I know.
He doesn't want to be.
He was here, then he left. I was back.
Now he's back.
But he wants to retire.
Yeah.
Experience.
He does.
So having him now to set up these frames, things are set up properly, we're
really
going to be okay.
So we're talking, but we'll get to it.
Okay.
True. So what I did want to show you though was as far as the North build, let me do this and then let me share my screen. All right, let me get back here. And share.
Excuse me, John,
Okay.
while you're setting that up, is it 1,200 families? We had an estimate of like the new
It's about
people
11.
we expect.
About 11.
About 1,100?
That we will pass by.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, can you see this? Jimmy, can you see this? I should be sharing from my screen. I believe I am. Yes. So,
Anthony's there too, I saw.
yeah, he was. Anyway, just a reminder, this is what we're talking about. The IFB is for the portion of the North Build that we do need outside help and specialized equipment because we're pulling 144s and 96s and things that are heavier than our equipment can do. And there's some, splicing together really high fiber cables is a specialized process. We could do it. Bill Betancourt has the ability to do it, but it would be much slower. And it's really just a smarter thing to have people come in and do it. It's good that we have that capability. But, hold on.
Yeah, you're not getting a screen share.
Okay, thanks,
Thank
Jimmy. I
you.
appreciate that. Not sure why that is. But it's also,
click on this. Yeah, click on that window.
there we go. Okay, let me share.
There we go.
Let me share this.
There you go.
And then that. Okay, can you see it now?
It's just showing you guys' screen, and then in 3 extras that you can do, it's only me and Anthony inside the boxes.
There you go.
There you
Oh,
go.
that.
Is that better?
Yep. There
Thank
you go.
you. Appreciate it. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so as I was saying, this is the portion that we are bringing in some outside people for. There's also some pole climbing. So we have all 3 licenses. There is still some work to do with Comcast because it just is a competitor that we're asking for. So we is all of the things that we will pull off of that up to Meadow Lane, up Green River Road, out Grave Street, down Country Club, all that we do ourselves in-house. So it isn't part of the IFB because the IFB is only for when we bring outside people in. So again, the IFB should go out sometime next week, and that's a big step forward for us. I can show you there's a couple of things that we have gotten done. There was one area where we had to go out and dig conduit because it's where it passes under the high tension wires, and the high tension wires are low enough that the poles have to be quite short, and when the poles are quite short, you can't really put them. So we have gone out and this we were able to do separately, and we worked with, I think it was JS Ray in the end, and we've laid the conduit and we filled it back in. It's all properly marked. We GPSed everything. And that is now complete with pull tape in it. So when we get to that point, it'll be done. That was the first thing we were really able to do. So anything that we can do ourselves, we're not waiting for anything. We're doing it right now. There's a little bit of work that Comcast needs to finish, and then we will be able to go. So that doesn't mean that it's instantly pulled everywhere, but it means that we will get started. And I don't know why the screen sharing is paused.
Oh, is it because you're switching the images?
Stop share, and I will start sharing.
Share screen.
Yeah,
Just
share, and we'll share
there you go.
that. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, so that's what we're sharing with people. That's finished. I would say that, the clock for an IFE is 30 days. So we will get the quotes in, open them up, and get going. Next, I want to show that we are talking about the GAP grant, and that is a grant. Let me go back to sharing here.
Yeah, you're sharing those.
So I should be able to just go to, here's the GAP grant. And in blue, you can see these are the areas that we are contracted with MBI to extend our service. This area in particular, we are getting to some very remote areas, but it allows us to go all the way down Hog Plain Road East, all the way over to Lover's Lane, and all the way down and get into the office park. Here, these are places that are in the woods that are just very remote. This we're going down because we're going to the transfer station. And it's good that right now they have cradles that do not work well. Their internet reception is terrible. And it'll be good for the city to be able to get that done as well too. And this one is actually for a lone house that is quite far out, that is also a different, really, these are areas that are particularly hard to get to. So one of the things I wanted to do was ask Bill to just give everybody a little reminder about why we're using fiber to the prem to get to these locations. And we can, I think, switch over to here.
Right, so it's been a while since we talked about this, right? So we're just gonna try to keep it pretty high level tonight. Just to kind of go over some of the stuff. To date, we only offer fixed wireless access, and that's what we do for all of our residents and businesses. Where we have the little receiver that's installed, that's what everybody has on their house, the little APs on the street poles. And then we also offer another service, which is typically for enterprise, like the town or some other businesses in the area use it. It provides, dedicated fiber to their premise, right? But it's very expensive. And most of the time people can't afford it. Only businesses who actually need the connection will use it. So those are our two methods of delivery today. We're actually looking at deploying PON or XGS-PON, which is passive optical networking, and to overcome some of these issues that we're dealing with, such as, with the fixed wireless, one of the issues we have is we can't always get to certain homes, right? There's either trees in the way or buildings in the way, and we just can't make it happen. And we also can't deliver it through our current services of active Ethernet because it's too expensive. So we're primarily focusing on connectivity. We're not focusing on speed. We're not focusing on any of that. Focus on getting these homes connected. And the only way we're kind of being able to do that is through passive optical network for some of these deployments. So you can scroll down a little bit. There's a couple components that we're actually finalizing and putting together for these builds. We have network switching and optical line terminals. Those are what are installed inside those fiber huts. That's what's installed at our POP. They're in climate controlled areas, typically climate controlled rooms. And then we have fiber distribution points and MSTs, which are those, you may have seen them on the street, up on utility poles. They're like a tube or something. Our fiber cables are spliced in there, and then we actually have MSTs, which are also hung on the poles and out in the field in the aerial deployments. This is what we kind of consider I guess we call it our access network. These components are shared by many homes, right? So many homes, many businesses they all travel through these components to get to the internet. If you scroll down just a little, some of the stuff that we're looking at the customer premise for fiber to the prem, unlike our fixed wireless, there's a couple more components here. So like each home is going to have a drop fiber. That's the fiber that comes off of the street pole or underground to the home. They're going to have a special little, what we call a fiber, a network interface device, which is a small black gray box that sits on the outside of the home, where we'll store the fiber that then transitions into the home. So that fiber stays on the outside, goes into the home, into a fiber jack, which we install inside the home, like a telephone jack you may be used to. Look similar, pretty similar to that. And then the final component, which will be an optical network unit or an ONT or an ONU, which will be what converts the fiber light into the internet for them, to the internet, and Wi-Fi and all that. So those four components are going to be at someone's home or site or business. the other components you saw earlier are shared amongst everyone.
So I would just say quickly, one of the things about these MSTs is that they're multifunctional. You can use them to drive the current APs that we have, or you can use them to drive fiber to the prem connection. Things have changed a lot in just a couple of years. When we literally first started thinking, just during the pandemic, it was still an issue where there were two big players, Calix and Adtrans. All software was proprietary. It was very, very expensive. And they decided when the $80,000 box you bought was out of service and you had to buy a new one. So in the last couple of years, there's been a big push, understandably, towards open source and to have equipment that can be interoperable, meaning can work with other companies. So Bill has been very much abreast of that, and it is having the effect of bringing pricing down for technologies, because as soon as it's not proprietary anymore, then there's more competition and prices come down. So at the moment, we use it for connection because still we don't have a single residential customer who comes anywhere close to maxing out their 200 connection. They can be video conferencing, playing games, watching TV, listening to music, and that level of bandwidth is good for pretty much. Okay.
Yeah, click on.
I can click myself open. I was just waiting for the invitation.
Okay.
I am one of those people that would attest to that, because I come to using the 200 MS MPS because I stream my video game. And all this new equipment, is that going to be available for existing customers, or is that only on the new build outs?
It will be.
I like the sound of fiber into my house.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last bit you said, Jim.
I said I like the sound of fiber into my house.
Sure. Yeah.
Right now, I'm at like a point where I'm thinking about switching, because if you guys go up on your rates in January, your competitors will be so much faster. And when GCET, I've been wanting to say this for a while, when GCET came to fruition, I've been watching you guys for the whole time. It was supposed to be affordable, faster, move people here. And I've experienced that isn't the case. It's slower than the competitors. I don't even like saying this, but I just haven't changed because it's inconvenient, but I need faster. And to get it from you guys is impossible. And it would be so much more expensive than your competitors to get it to that speed. That's all.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Okay, thank you. But we're going to keep going here. So this is the what we're looking for the GAP Networks grant. And at this point, this is the system engineering that we are working on. We have the signed contract. We later this month have our kickoff meeting with MBI, because a big portion of this will be making sure that we're all up to speed on all the reporting issues that have to be done to get this to work. And we're already far along in terms of putting together whatever make-ready applications we need to do. We're far along in our route and system design, and we had to do some of that actually even to just get to the application. So we are moving forward. We've got a lot of information that has been put together. And this one as well, the next step for us is to get make-ready applications out once, and we waited until obviously after we had a signed contract to do that. So we are set to go. Make-ready takes a little while, but again, this will take some make-ready and move it to the grant, and will allow us to get to places we couldn't get to before. So at the moment, you will see for GAP Networks, the next phase, we'll get there, and then we'll wait for a while, because the make-ready is the longest portion of any of it, because we'll work then with Eversource and Verizon to make sure that surveys are done of the poles. We will be riding out with them now, because there's some, we want to make sure that the surveys are done correctly and that polls are changed when they need to be changed and not any other time. But that is where we'll be. I don't anticipate that we'll be actually pulling any fiber on those poles for a while. It usually takes anywhere from 10 to 18 months for the survey and make ready process to finish, and it can be even a little bit longer. They know it has to be shorter because this is a grant that has to be all spent out by the end of calendar year 2026. So we should be able to do that, but we want to start as soon as we can. The last thing that we are looking at here is residential retrofit, and that is working on the Weldon. I thought you would like to see this. This is the blueprints of the Weldon that are made in a different time.
Stored meticulously.
Stored, yeah, we scanned all of these. Some of these are important for us, for example, the riser diagram and things like that. But I thought you would like to see sort of what we're working with. Again, we here, for example, is the telco closet on the first floor inside, because we've done walkthroughs now of the Weldon. There is, this is where the conduit goes up from the first floor. And if you can see, what they did was they just drilled through the concrete. So we are able to follow those pathways somewhat.
Piggyback on past violations.
Right.
Let's do it.
So we are at the point now where we can do that. We found that there are areas where we can go above the ceiling. There's actually a gap that we can go down.
Okay.
So we have to confirm that we can do that everywhere. But we are well within what our budget is, same for the gap grants. Here, there's a couple of poles that we have to have a little make ready on, but really at that point, the make ready is a much smaller thing, and when it's a few poles, because really we just need to get over here, which is a pole where we can then have our own conduit that goes into the basement of the Weldon and gets to the telco rooms we need to. So,
Excuse me, John,
Sure.
isn't that through the garden?
yes.
Originally, there was talk of the poles could only be on High Street, but then
Right.
we were gonna dig up. So I just wanted to be sure and I just also want to say, when I first moved in, the Xfinity guy came, he disappeared for hours. I thought he left the building, and he came up and he said, "What a snarly mess."
Yeah.
You know, and that was hooking up Xfinity back in 6 years ago or whatever it is. So, and they are asking again today. And so I said, well, we didn't have an October meeting. Maybe I can give them, but once we figure stuff out, can we get a letter from GCET that goes to the residents? I mean, you gotta, I know.
It has to go through Shockit. We can talk to Shockit about doing that. We are contracted by MBI to do the work for Shockit. They are technically the recipient of the grant.
Right. So she came last month
Okay.
and sat with the tenants and said, the contract has been signed by Peter Lewis. We're
Right.
good to go.
Okay.
But and that's, I understand that. But as far as their communication for us, it's a
Okay.
little tricky. So they asked again today, and I said, I don't know anything. I keep telling them to call over here. And so that's just the way, that's what happens in housing.
So
I get it has to go through them, but then
Right.
to make them tell us a time frame. Of course, they're saying the same thing. Ooh, when does this happen? Do we get a little black box over in the
Right.
corner? And,
Sure.
Sure. And so that's all I'm saying is
Okay.
from their viewpoint, I mean, they keep asking me, and I said, I'm one commissioner. And I've asked them to watch YouTube. I have asked them to become informed from either
Okay.
calling you or Fern or whatever, because I said, I can't speak on behalf of the board. And I've explained that till the cows come home, but they don't like my answer.
what we will do is we'll get in touch with people at Shockit and work out a way that we can give them updates and they can
Right.
people.
And then
the
I'll be the
contract
squeaky
was really
wheel.
just signed, so you know.
Yeah,
that-
she came she told us when it was signed,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
was, at least we knew that, because we knew,
Right.
we knew it was coming,
Right, exactly.
so.
Say that we come up with like a template for like a one pager that we could just update like on a monthly basis or quarterly, whatever's appropriate. That
Right.
can also be included in the minutes so that people can either get it
Yep.
through the minutes, but it's the same thing that Shopkit has. And so everybody's okay with each other, but you don't have to.
We
go
have
through
a
them.
column and we
Yes.
can post stuff, and we have a monthly newsletter, so
Yeah,
if we could
exactly.
actually get them
Yep,
to put
great.
it in the newsletter, yay, everybody gets a newsletter.
Right, and then we have one comment.
Right, just
Awesome.
something that's
Yeah.
easy to update.
Absolutely.
Great.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
No, not at all. It was a good question. So I will follow up with Shaka and we'll figure out exactly how to make it repeatable and easy so it can serve a couple of different purposes. It is worth mentioning that this is the same kind of technology that Bill was talking about, because when you're going into a building and you're going to a lot of units, it's what a multi-dwelling unit, an MDU is what it is. And you provide service in different ways for those. Again, this is a grant that ends at the end of fiscal year calendar year 26. But we think this one should go along a little faster, mostly because Make Ready is not going to be as long as it will be for the polls that we have to do for the GAP grant. The North Build should pass by 1,100 homes. If we follow the sort of traditional percentages we get in the first year and the second year and the third year, we should in the first 12 months sign up somewhere from 200 to 250 customers. That grows to just under 400 in the second year and goes over 500 in the third year, because areas where we're developed, we have 60 and 70% take rates. In areas where there isn't a lot of turnover, in areas where there's lots of rentals and there's more turnover, we don't have as high a rate because it churns through people. At the Weldon, we think that we will do quite well as well with people. As far as the GAP grant is concerned, the actual grant is reaching the end users, so we will reach all of those users. But again, we pass by quite a few homes that we will, that's not as big a number as 1,100. It's really more like 350, 400 homes that we'll pass by. And we should be able to get more customers out of that too. So yeah, it's a very good thing for all of us. It is once we are done with IFBs, there will be a little IFB work for not so much the GAP grant, but there will be one portion of the GAP grant going out in South Greenfield, going out along to past the fairgrounds out to the transfer center. That probably will need an IFB, because that's again, that's another heavy cable pole that will come up from where we are on Meridian Street and get up that way. And then we can pull off of that as well too. We've done all of the Make Ready for all of the poles that we will do up north for the North Build. And we're beginning to look at Make Ready in the south as well too. So this will occupy a large amount of our time for a while now, because there's a lot of engineering work to be done. There's a tremendous amount of reporting that anybody who's worked with grants knows perfectly well. There's a lot of paperwork that needs to be done. And then we also have to coordinate outside and inside labor. We can do it all, but it's just, we've got several big projects going on. Well, it's great. It's what we're supposed to be doing. I'm glad that we're finally getting to it. But this is what you're going to hear about for a while, as it should be. And it will, we'll let you know exactly where we're at with it once a month. And where we are now is we are at the point where IFB is out for the North Build. Contract is signed for the GAP grant. We are working already on system design and engineering design. We're putting together our applications for Make Ready, and we are meeting with MBI because we are the administrators of that grant with MBI. to go over their expectations for reporting that might be at variance with what's in the contract, because that happens too. As far as the residential retrofit, that is also signed. I will follow up with Shockett, the building owners, and we will figure out how we're going to report there. And again, do the make ready work that we need to do there. So we've just really gotten started with the gap and the retrofit. It's about $1.2 million worth of grant money that we've received to do all this, and that will be sufficient. And at the moment, that's really where we're at. So I told you this wouldn't be a super long meeting tonight.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
I just not that I think very many people will probably watch this. Surprisingly, because it's very informative and educational and entertaining. We hear from, occasionally we'll hear from a citizen like Jimmy, who for his gaming purposes, apparently GCET isn't sufficient. I think it's important to put out the other side of that. As a user, I have 16 computers, 16 phone lines, and 2 TVs in my office that run on GCET for both TV, for TV, internet, and our voice over IP. And we haven't had any problems. And our network, our management system is all online. It's all cloud-based. So our employees, there's 15 employees and a 16 computer that's for the state of Massachusetts that isn't always in use. They're on from the minute we open our doors at 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock at night, and then during tax season till whatever time the goes home. So for us, it's been fantastic. So again, there probably are people for gaming purposes. I guess apparently in this particular case, there are people that need more. But for a business my size with 15 employees, it has been more than adequate and never been an issue with accessibility, latency, slow speeds.
Actually, our latency is much better.
Yeah. So, or being down. I mean, in fact, we don't purchase our phone service through GCET, but when we do have an issue, it's typically on the phone side service, the phone service side, and not an internet question. So I just so that there's a balance of that, because obviously those who are watching are hearing that someone isn't happy. Well, unfortunately, that's always going to be the case. Not everybody's happy.
Yeah, I want to let Pam speak, but then I want to return to that. Yeah.
So you had some questions.
Yeah, just 2, I hope. I think that's it. Every grant has to have a manager. So we know who's managing each and every grant. You're the one?
Fern and I do it together.
You do it together. Okay. Yeah. And then at the end of Ways and Means, there was this talk of, I think it's DTC. So the legislature,
Sure.
bill, love to know the name of the bill. And is it Comerford that's trying to get them to do some oversight?
She may have signed on to it. She didn't sponsor it. I have to go back and I'll find for you the actual bill. The idea is that it would place internet only and internet and streaming companies under the oversight of the Department of Telecommunications, which we're fine either way. So if it passes, then we'll work with the Department of Telecommunications, and that'll bring some good things and probably more paperwork. Yeah.
Because just to clarify for people, because it sounded like the DPU is not going to do anything or cannot, because we are only telecommunications.
They have declined to regulate most MLPs, not just even MLPs that have a power component and a telecom component. They'll regulate the power. They won't regulate the telecommunications. DTC previously had declined to do it as well, which is, I think, the impetus for the bill. It's been there for a while. It may pass, it may not. I really don't know. Right. But it would force DTC to have oversight over the telecommunications aspect of municipal light plants. I believe, Pamela, I'm not sure, so anybody listening should take it with a grain of salt. I think it would also have some application to people like YouTube TV and Hulu with live TV and other people like Fubo, people who offer, because right now there is, it is chapter 25 in Massachusetts state law that says IP-enabled services may not be regulated by those entities, because we actually are a data service. Everything we do is IP enabled. It goes over internet protocol. So it's not the same when you see TV from us. It's not the same as it is. It's not a linear transmission like it is over cable. It's data that the Roku then translates into video and audio. So we do nothing but data, and have from day one. It gets turned into audio signals for phone. It gets turned into video and audio signals for GCET TV. But what we transmit to people is data. That's why you need a Roku to see it. That's why you can't just, it's just a newer technology and personally, I think you're going to see everybody switching over to that in the end, because I think there's advantages for legacy cable people to make that change as well.
Right,
So-
and you and I had talked about that personally another time,
Mhm.
a little bit, just for the background, and then Counselor Garrett is the one that asked about that, as well as like, can't we just get these poles out from under the
Right.
eminent domain thing? I thought that was a
Right.
very interesting concept.
He did ask about that, and I believe it's in Nebraska. There was some
Hastings, I know right where that is.
Right, there was some discussion of it. I think it's not impossible. That is a very heavy legislative lift to get that done. To take it by eminent domain still means the municipalities would have to come up with a fairly substantial sum of money
Right.
to go through on it. Whether communities can or can't, I will tell you some of the most successful MLPs are in communities that do own their own poles. And I will tell you that honestly, Make Ready has been one of the most frustrating and incoherent and frankly capricious and arbitrary processes I've
That's the
ever
worst
been
part of it,
through.
yes.
It is.
We can't plan,
You
we don't know the
no,
numbers.
No.
You know, we're
You
just.
Gotta go by a
guessing.
timeline.
No.
because
That's why
there's
you use the
no,
word hostage. We're
Right.
held
100%.
hostage. I
Right.
thought that is absolutely the way
It
it
is.
feels.
We are.
the law says, the 1996 Telecom Act says we must be allowed on the poles. That's all it says.
Yeah.
How it happens, how long it takes, how expensive it is, the
Right.
government is mute. And you can imagine in that kind of scenario.
Whoever has the most lawyers wins.
Right. And
That's
let's
okay.
be honest,
Yeah.
of the poles we're going on, Verizon and Comcast are both on those poles. Verizon owns the poles and they are our direct competitor.
Yep.
So
There you
it is, you have to really have a lot of patience to stick through it. You have to be willing to stick up for yourself. We've contested quite a few surveys, and literally what we hear in the beginning is frankly just, they literally are bewildered. They're like, just pay us. And we say, no, we can't just pay you. You have to provide us with an invoice, and we'll get an invoice that says $42,000 with nothing. We're like, we're not going to pay an invoice that doesn't tell us what the invoice is for. And their answer is, what do you mean? Why not? Everybody pays us this way. And our answer is, well, we're not going to. So
Maybe not.
because they're right in some areas and wrong in other areas, but the process itself, it's not even, in a lot of ways, it's not the fault of the people we work with. The people we actually work with have been by and large great and try to be helpful. The process is just so broken that it's really, really hard to make it work. I've talked with Natalie Blay about it. We will continue to, because the state of Massachusetts wants to promote more municipal light plants. It's gotta change, or it just is too hard for most places to be able to make it work. It's too expensive and it takes too long. And that's, as you can imagine, it doesn't make legacy people really unhappy to hear that. So, again, we're starting with Make Ready right now on the GAP networks because it's going to take a year and a half before we can do anything. And we'll do what we do now, which is get in touch with people every week and say, that survey was supposed to be done. Where is it? So.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You wanted to.
Well, first of all, I want to get, there was a time for public comment, and it was great that we interrupted the agenda to recognize, it's up to the chair as to whether you want to keep recognizing people. And I know that if we were in person, there would be a sign up for public comment on which people would put their full names and their address or precinct. Address. So, and I know that that's not a protocol for hybrid or Zoom meetings for the public, but I wonder, is that wrong?
Well, I actually wasn't going to, when we opened for public comment, no one said anything.
Yeah.
And then John went and clicked it. So, just back. So
No, totally.
I would have asked,
But
give me
just
your name and
to
address.
your question earlier about whose names you have to have, we don't have to record the presence of members of the public, but I think it would be best practice, and I would assume it's implied in the open meeting laws that the same holds true for in person and online. So people should rename themselves with their full name and their address.
Okay.
Because we need to be able to identify people who are commenting, and that's, yes, okay. And it's great. I love having this problem. I want people to come to attend meetings, but that is.
And it also can't be just in the middle of meetings that we're just having.
No, of course.
Right. That was just.
He's telling me to shut up.
You can't speak at a council meeting if you're.
Lord knows I tried. Lord knows I tried. But so then I just wanted to sort of piggyback on what you were saying, which is, I think it's having had for many years the he who shall not be named as our previous provider. I can honestly say, we experienced many outages, many times I was gaslit when we had outages and told there was not a problem right there. And my husband works fully remotely and I work partly remotely. I also, experienced that we speed test all the time, right? And so we speed test our internet. And so we were never getting what we were paying for. Now, there are variables in the delivery of the speed, and that happens with any network. And there are definitely times during the day when I feel like the network is hiccuping a little. All the kids got home from school, whatever's happening, they get on their game consoles. But I think, basically what I know is that we get consistently what we pay for, right? And that was just not the case before. The other thing is that I know that we have had situations where something happened recently, we called and it was something I can't remember if there was a power outage or a storm or something, and we were being directed to the wrong receiver. And so that's the other thing is I think, if people have issues with their service, you call up and you get technical assistance. You get it immediately, you get a person who's here, and sometimes it's something in the outside. We've done things within our home to add kind of basically transponders throughout our house that have just made our kind of service excellent throughout a very long house. And so I think there's just ways to troubleshoot. And I think, we provide technical assistance from the GCET staff that's well beyond the actual service. You're talking to people through their Roku setup and stuff like that. So.
Yep. Thank you.
Can
I would
address
like
one
to-
of the things she just said?
Sure, if you want to. I'm just gonna put out there that I do want to. I do want to take a minute.
Yes.
No, this is about that because, I chose 3 different dates and lots of different times, but I didn't choose 6 o'clock tonight because I missed a public comment that I thought was very important for me to try to make at the school committee tonight. And tonight there's A&O and there's a school committee, and A&O is going to talk about exactly the remote kind of thing. And I think that's one of the things that that somebody told me they were going to try to deal with. So remember when we did the doodle poll and we all said, oh, let's see, can we choose something else, or does it have to conflict always with school committee, or first it was conflicting with city council. So when we do that, do we know when it's consistently going to be? Is it always going to be? Because I tried not to go to school committee, but this SRO thing has me
Right.
ticked off.
Sure. What I would say is we didn't meet in October because we put a whole bunch of different dates out and we didn't find one date or time where we have quorum. So it's a busy group.
I thought I saw 4 or 3 places. I must not understand.
One of those is him, one of those is me.
Yeah, it's not enough members.
Right.
That was, yeah.
We
Right.
only ever had
I know.
2,
Good.
5 members,
Okay.
right? So if Fern isn't here because it's her birthday today. So, but if you see a 4, you have to check and make sure one of them isn't the 2 of us. So there was not one day in October and we had like 15 different, a couple different days and a bunch of different times and there wasn't one.
Yeah, and that was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I know you travel for work.
It's my worst season is almost over. I'm about to travel.
How about
Friday.
Tuesday?
Fine.
There's only because, I would say Tuesdays because councils are on Wednesdays, school committees are on Wednesdays, chairs is on Mondays, I think Ways and Means are on Tuesdays, but I don't know if you're going to them, I don't.
Often A&O and or Ways and Means is on the day before the meeting.
This is Tuesday.
So that can be Tuesday. You're just not gonna find.
You're never gonna find
No,
it.
Tuesday, if it's at 6, I could do 7:30. I have assumed.
Yeah, no, I would want
Like
Okay.
late afternoon.
I have a hard time when I go home to even want to leave.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And
Now
and
those
I ask
dark-
because it's not
But if I
really.
do leave, then Well, in December, I will say that it's hard because
It's
people have holiday parties and they have time off, and if we don't have any more these particular, because we can always call a meeting if we need to do one, but maybe we look at
But I
January
think
as.
it's hard. I mean, I think to Pam's point, it's easier if you have a standing time and then cancel, you know,
Yes,
because then
yes.
it's on people's calendars. I mean, with the fire station, you know,
Okay.
for umpteen years,
Okay.
holding that
Okay.
4 o'clock spot on
Yeah, you just
Thursdays.
kind of protect it.
I just protected the
I
spot.
protected it.
Yeah, and then I'm thrilled if you cancel it. I'm
Instead of being,
you know.
So we will adapt to whatever you want.
Yeah.
If you wanna, so let's have a little conversation now. Is Tuesday at 6 PM a day that works for people?
Makes no difference.
So that would be, in the
How
past,
do a middle school girls basketball game?
yeah, that I can't tell
This
you,
is my
sorry.
first year.
That would mean,
Those
uh,
schedules are-
Kids.
we have usually said the 3rd week of the month. That means in December, it would be Tuesday, December 17th.
I can't make that. I actually know for a fact.
Okay,
Regional savings bank thing, I have to go.
okay.
That's-
The
that's
next
my-
one is the 24th, and no one.
I can do the 24th.
Now, so just so you know, the 3rd Tuesday is the 17th of December. It is the 21st of January. It is the 18th of February, and it is the 18th of March. So if you want us to set
Will
it,
you be back if we did the 21st? Will you be back from the inauguration? Because that's the 20th.
yes, yes, I will. Will.
February date will fall in February vacation, which would be a problem for you.
No, I don't go.
It'll be a problem for me, because even though I don't have young kids.
Yeah, they go.
It doesn't have to be. Would the 2nd Tuesday of the month
Let's
work
try
better
the
for
second
people?
Tuesday starting in December.
Which
and
would
just-
be the 10th of December.
I'm pretty sure.
I would be away,
but
can be remote.
Okay,
Let's do it.
okay. And then that would be the 14th of January. And it would be the 11th of February. So should we say we're gonna set our meetings
Yeah,
for the 2nd Tuesday of the month at 6 PM? And life being what it is, I'm sure we will have to reschedule some of them. But if we do that, then we will have a normal time. I will let the city know, so it can be on the city website as well.
yeah, and then it's.
And then that will let us be a little bit more set in terms of time, Kathy, that you and I could meet for minutes, and because it's a tough group to get together. And
I was quite surprised when I got on the board that we didn't have a set time.
well,
Yeah,
in the
I was
past,
very
we didn't
surprised.
because it was so.
You did, yeah.
Right, it just, you know,
Well,
Because then you have to change it.
yeah.
so if we can commit to this, we'd be happy about that.
But we can meet
We
anytime.
went through a
We can
period
have
where we were changing a lot
coffee,
because it was
lunch,
really
dinner.
hard to get people
Yeah, no,
Get everybody.
I
have it. So we're gonna say the second Tuesday of every month at 6 PM. That's great. Love it.
And really, like, most of my work conflicts they're episodic and they're
Right.
kind of foreseeable. So if I have
Right.
this hold on the calendar, I can,
And,
You know.
and it is nice to have Pamela and Kathy here. So if somebody can't make it, we can still have a quorum. We can have a quorum
Yeah.
being a fully, now we're all invested until 2027. So
When was the last time you had 5 people?
it's been a while. It's been a while. So, okay, then I will send you out a reminder. And that if that's the plan, then we will all be meeting next on Tuesday, December 10th at 6 PM here and hybrid. Okay? I have no other business, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.